March the 7th. And this month, as most of us are aware, is the month we celebrate women. So it's world is international, really, Women's Month. And all over the world, people recognize what women do, who women are. And needless to say that women are pillars of the society, of the family, of the community. And we have assumed this responsibility in a very subtle but strong way. And every woman I have met has really been pretty strong in their own, areas. And a lot of what women do are taken for granted. I keep saying that. And it isn't really intentional sometimes, but we are beginning to let women take back their role and also let other people recognize them for who they are and for what they do. So today we have in our midst one of the powerful women who have really impacted the world in her own profession and in her own area. So we're welcoming Christy Walter to join us to talk to us about who she is, what she does, and how she has really impacted women in her own life and communities and our globe. And I'm really inviting everybody to please relax and listen to her and just keep your questions or your comments at the end of her, you know, talk, and I will invite people to just ask their questions and make the comments. So, Christy, you're welcome. Over to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the invite, and I'm happy to be here sharing this time with you.
Thank
My name is
you.
Dr. Christy Walter. I am. My previous career was as a psychotherapist, so I kind of bring a unique holistic perspective to medicine. And my role or my hope is to empower women everywhere to find their voice and to stand into their power. Oftentimes, I think as women, we are used to taking a back seat. We're used to not having a voice. We're used to being the second voice that's heard. And I encourage people to step into their power. One of the ways I do that is I've created an online course to help people overcome anxiety and depression. And I think one of the things that keeps people stuck is mindset. Whether you're dealing with mental illness or not, is the mindset, the beliefs that we bring with us into our adulthood from childhood. Oftentimes we've been spoken over as children or even as adults in a way that can be wounding and damaging. And we internalize those words and develop a belief system around them that can be self-sabotaging, because what happens is what we believe deep down in our core will influence the way we think. And then the way we think and feel will influence our actions. And those actions repeated over time become habits. And so we develop habitual ways of acting and reacting and being in the world based on our belief systems, many of which are unhealthy or rooted in trauma. It's important not so much to discover where or what all the negative beliefs are, but to realize that if you're experiencing the less than ideal life, you're not living in your full power, then you may be self-limiting based on your beliefs. And so it's time to shift gears and change those beliefs. Belief is a neuropsychologist researcher who does a lot of work on this topic. Toxic thoughts, also and physical illnesses. And she talks about how up to 90% of illnesses are rooted in the way we talk to ourselves and about ourselves and the beliefs that we carry. So one of my goals is to become empowered and develop a new set of beliefs. And that can start with as simple as telling affirmations to yourself every day. It's one thing I do. I do a morning brain dump. I dump out the negativity. and I read a list of affirmations. For example, I am strong, and I have a little paragraph that I've written about what my future successful self looks like. And I that over myself every day. The thing is, the more it starts to believe it, and the more you start to pick out things in the environment that reinforce it. For example, we have a tendency to look at things and find things and recreate things that reinforce our belief system. And that's rooted in our reticular activating system in our brain. It's called the confirmation bias. You may have experienced this, for example, if you bought a new white car, and it's a Honda Civic. Next thing you know, everybody's driving a Honda and driving a white car. Well, it's not that that has changed. It's just that your confirmation bias is seeking that out.
Right.
The goal is to change our confirmation bias, to change our beliefs so that we can feel in a more proactive manner.
You keep cutting. I think you're cutting. I'm not sure if it's your connection.
What's that?
You're cutting. It keeps cutting. You go in and out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It doesn't show that on my end.
Oh, really? Yeah. Emily, are you
okay
noticing that?
No,
Yeah, it is.
I'm not noticing that.
Yeah, I'm asking Emily. I'm not sure if she's noticing that as well. But yeah, right now it's okay.
Okay, sorry. It's a high yield time in the apartment complex. Everybody's probably on the internet.
I know.
Perhaps I can answer some questions based on what I've shared so far. Okay, so I don't make sure I didn't lose you too much.
Oh no. I think you're fine. You're fine. So what you were sharing, trying to explain, let people know how our mindset and our belief system can really rule us. And
Yes.
if we're not aware of what is going on in our lives, people can really be go with the emotion, go with what is going on, and not really internalizing the positive energy, that comes our way. And that happens to almost everybody, except if one is really aware of oneself and aware of what is going on in one's environment and in one's life, and actually being consciously making decisions, that will really impact one in a positive way. So now, one question I have for you is, I know maybe I missed it if you said that or when it was in and out. How many years have you been in this profession, and who are your typical clients?
Sure.
Yeah.
Great. Been an emergency physician for 20 plus years. I was a therapist for several years before going to medical school. I developed this business of late, part of my own journey. Tools I talk about, I actually have used on myself. And I just launched my business yesterday, to be honest with you. But it's taken me a year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I've done research and study and been putting it together for about a year now, and it's finally come together.
Good. That's great. Yeah. So you have pretty much worked with people from all walks of life, right? And when it comes to women, have you actually noticed anything that is different from the way women take care of, look at life from men's perspective? Do you have any, input on that for us?
Well, a trend I see in women in general is often they are the martyrs in the family system. They tend to be very codependent in general. I'm not saying codependency where they put everybody else's needs before their own. Burnout, and they do that year after year, point where they're completely burned out physically and mentally, and exhausted, and have left. Often see a lot in women in particular as manifest. I think a lot of that has to do with the stress that we put on our adrenal system, and what have you. It then to have a deleterious effect on our bodies over time. So I see women exhausting themselves to the point of illness, both physically and mentally.
Right. You know what you just said. Your phone, your connection is still a little, shaky. It keeps cutting.
So sorry.
No, that's okay. So I heard what you said, but I'm not sure if I missed anything there. But I'm just gonna, kind of um, replay or say what you said the way I understood it. So, talking about women and the way women kind of try to live in that codependent way, and a lot of women are like that. And I have to be honest, I'm a nurse and a midwife, and I find that a lot in nurses. It's so sad that we are caregivers. We try to take care of the whole world, but we are the last people to really think about ourselves. And it has really made me to a point I'm like, you know what, this is getting on my nerves. I decided when I went for my doctorate degree, I decided to do leadership and nursing, and just get into that whole idea of leading and making sure that if you're going to be leading and you're going to really help anybody, you're going to have to start with yourself. And nothing happens without self-care. And just this afternoon, I was at work with one of my colleagues, who is also a nurse. She and I were talking about, again, women. And this month, we're celebrating women nationwide and globally. So I shared with her about how women can really get into care of everybody else, and then they're being the last people to take care of themselves. And she shared a very sad story with me, and I'm going to share it here. And it's sad, but I'm sorry. I just want us to, just to reemphasize what we're talking about. So there's this lady who was a nurse, and she worked as a nurse for 30 years, and in a hospital that really, I think she started as an aide and worked herself, worked her way up. And she had a husband who unfortunately had a little bit of issues, and tends to take care of himself by drinking. And this lady, of course, had to, and that's typical. And she decided to kind of care for the husband, take care of the family, and all those 30 years she barely took care of herself. So after 30 years, she retired. She retired early. She was only 55 years old. And as soon as she retired, she had a massive heart attack and she died. Yeah. So it is very sad. And when she shared that, I'm like, this happens all the time. I hear this kind of story all the time. And the question is, does it mean that women don't understand it? Or as nurses, as caregivers, even doctors, don't we really understand that we should really start with me? That we should start with who you are, walk your own life, see how you can help yourself. Because I don't believe that anybody who doesn't work to take care of themselves can really, really honestly take care of other people. I don't know how people do it, but if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not really all together with it to give that excellent care to someone else. So, and I know you've said that earlier, but can you really please say a little bit more about that, even in that perspective of psychology?
Yes, I think it's multifactorial. I think one thing that drives that behavior is perhaps a deep-rooted belief that you're not good enough. I'm not good enough, or I have to prove myself. And so I do that by going above and beyond. And because women also are taking on multiple roles, they're not just, you know, caregiving at home, but they're in the workforce. I think at home problems, and so they're doing double duty. They're doing all the duty of the home and the duty of the work, and then that leaves no time for themselves. So they really need to be intentional about setting boundaries around their own personal care, as if it's an appointment, and not that it's it has to be part of the gets put on the back burner because everybody else's needs come first in their. You have to learn to put yourself first in many respects. Learn how to say no. I tell people that no is a complete sentence. It doesn't need justification. It doesn't need the other person's buy-in. You don't need to make an excuse. You just say, no, I'm not available to do that. And that's good enough. You don't have to say why. You don't have to get them to agree with you, because people will sometimes push the limit and say, oh, could you just this one time? Or I just need, you know, there's always a reason that you could be talked to. Be no. It's okay to say no. We need to give ourselves permission as women, as people, to say no. And the other thing is we need to learn to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. It actually is imperative that the work is divided. You know, it's not fair, nor is it, you know, our role to take on everything for everybody. You know, but a lot of women do. They take on everything for everybody, and then they're the last one on the list. I also talk about 80% effort in one of my lessons in my program. On any given day, I suggest you give 80% of yourself instead of 100 for yourself. That way you don't burn yourself out. Because in the long run, what happens is women, you know, I've been in this position too. You become resentful at all the people around you who seemingly are sitting and watching you do everything, and they're doing nothing. Well, you're not asking for help, one. You're not setting boundaries, two. And if you're going to do it, people are going to let you do it. So we have to stand up for ourselves. You know, I remember thinking that if my husband saw how hard I was working, that he would step up to help. That never happened.
I know.
You know, that's up to me to set that boundary. It's not up to him to mind read or to rescue me. I think rescued, you know, and if only everybody saw how hard I'm working. It doesn't work that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't, honestly. And like you said, it makes people resentful. And that is what is going on actually in the workforce right now and in healthcare. A lot of nurses, I remember what happened when COVID hit a couple of years ago. And what happened, I was one of those that really caught hope of COVID. And at that time, we didn't have enough staff in our facility. And I was pretty much doing everything from supervisor to security, you know, because people were sick and they were calling off, and you can't get anybody to come in, but then you still have patients to take care of, you know. And what was also happening was, unfortunately, management was also being so tight with finance and other resources, which really for me was crazy. And I'm like, okay, here we are, you know, not getting anybody to come in to take care of our patients. And we know we have to still keep up to the standard care. And nurses are really working off their, you know, like working 24/7. Right. And a lot of them were coming down with COVID. And I found myself being really, really resentful. In fact, it made me quit. At the end of the whole thing, after I recovered from COVID, I'm like, no, I'm not going to go continue with nursing. I'm just done. You know, so you can get to that point where you're just resentful, you know, and even, well, in this workforce, even when you ask for help, you're not getting it, you know, in this kind of, because what is going on with corporate is that people tend to use whoever they can use. And when it
Yes.
comes to healthcare, nurses are pretty much the ones that they use. That is, it's as simple as that. You can't say no because we all feel that we have this commitment to our patients. We want them to be safe. We want them to be healthy. We want them to really everything good about, for them. And we end up being sick, being really not even paid well like we should, but we take it. And I don't think like that is really helpful for anybody, not
Right.
even the nurses or any woman. The other thing I have also seen women do is you mentioned about like your husband, if you no matter how busy you can be busy and expecting somebody to help you. The other thing is I have also seen that whole relationship abuse in relationship, and women fall victims to that.
Mhm.
So, do you have any idea, like experiences that you have encountered, and any words of advice to women in that regard?
Yeah, actually, I can relate on a personal level. I was that person doing everything, wearing all the hats all the time and allowing it to happen. And it came down to a point where I finally put my foot down, and it it's unfortunate it had to get to the point where I was at a breaking point for me to finally say, we need to speak up sooner. We have a voice, we need to use it. And because if we don't, we're gonna have the status quo isn't gonna change until somebody makes a change. And if the person less likely to make the change is the one that's not needing to do a whole lot of work, right? It's the one sitting there
Right.
watching you run around like crazy. So,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
about caring for yourself enough to say, I deserve to be treated better. I deserve help. I'm worthwhile. I'm not, everybody's punching bag. I'm not everybody's and a ruffled family because they're probably used to things being a certain way. And mom always does this, and my wife always does this, and but it's going to take the woman to be strong and to stand up for herself and say, no more. This isn't okay. I'm a human being. I have needs and feelings, and I deserve to be happy. you know it shouldn't have to take getting to the point of being so resentful that things end in divorce, or so resentful or so angry that you end up sick, because you will end up
Yes.
sick. If you don't take care
Yes.
of yourself mentally, physically, your body will eventually take care of it for you, and you'll go down. I've seen it time and time again.
Absolutely. We're talking about being sick. That's so sad because I know a lot of women these days coming down with all kinds of cancer,
Mhm.
especially breast cancer, ovarian cancer, all kinds of cancers. And you find out when you really come down to it and get people to be honest, it always boils down to lack of self care.
That's
you,
right.
you know yeah, it always comes down to that. And this month that we're celebrating women, honoring women globally and locally, I think our message this evening is letting women recognize their essence in their family, the importance of them taking care of themselves, recognizing who they are, carrying themselves like God has created them,
Hmm.
and acknowledging that they are also human. That they are not everybody's caretaker, and
Right.
they're not here to really change the whole world. That you can do what you need to do at your own best, but don't think that you're going to really move mountain all the time. Nobody does. And if you're going to really do something like that, look for help. Because one thing I know about women is we're good at collaboration, we're good at networking, we're good at helping one another. So I really want to use this opportunity to applaud our women who have really given a lot to the society, but also to remind them that there's always the next person, there's always that friend, there's always that neighbor. that you can reach out to and ask for help. Just to ask. It doesn't really, hard to ask. The highest thing that could happen is the person might say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you," but that's okay. At least you asked,
Right.
So yeah. So, what else would you really tell women, especially younger women? Because my area right now, I accompany young women, pregnant mothers, mothers who are breastfeeding their babies, raising families, juggling life, juggling family, and everything like that. And most of them are really doing this by themselves. There are single mothers that, the percentage now is increasing by the day. You
Mhm.
know, from the research and statistics that is out there, we're looking at 70% of women are really manning families by themselves, and they juggle every other thing. So,
Right.
how,
So that's a
go
unique
ahead.
situation. It's not meant to be that way, right? We're not meant to do life alone, or raise a family alone. In ideal situations, you would have help. So it's going to be very important to join a community of maybe other people who are in the same situation as another, and to really be intentional about building in that support system and reaching out and trying to network amongst your friends, your family, and even being proactive in the sense of it's your body, right? And you have the right to protect it. And one of the ways you protect it as a woman is to be proactive in terms of if you get pregnant outside of a committed being a single mom. So be proactive about what you might want to do to prevent that, avoid that, protect yourself so that the situation doesn't repeat itself. You can't rely on the men to be always, because they don't always step up as you see, and not to be coerced into something just to satisfy some. You have to think of the long-term consequences. So sometimes we have to think.
Yeah, you're still cutting.
I think I
Hello?
lost you. You froze
Yes,
on me.
you were still cutting. Yeah. I didn't hear what you said there. Yeah. Can you repeat, please? We didn't get that.
I was basically encouraging single moms to get support with among other single women, amongst family members if they can, but to also be proactive so as not to find themselves in that situation again in the future. Take care of their body, to protect their body, to not be coerced into sexual activity unprotected, realizing that the man may not step up if you get pregnant again, rely on that to protect yourself.
Right. Right. Yeah. And not acting the savior anyway, because people will always take care of themselves, whether one is available to do that or not. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And women, we know that we go, way above and beyond to really help other people. But what we're saying today is just to remember yourself, self first, and there's nothing wrong in that. Yeah, there is nothing wrong in putting yourself first, because if you don't, nobody would do that, and you're not going to really impress anybody by not taking care of yourself.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's
You're not going to
yeah,
impress anybody. You're not going to elicit other people's help.
right.
Just it's not going to necessarily motivate people to step in and help you. You need to be able to say no, set boundaries, and you need to set aside time for you intentionally, not wait for somebody to give you permission.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of times people try to look for that permission, and nobody will give it to them, no matter how they try. Nobody will. In fact, everybody wants to take advantage of somebody who is that selfless. You
Right.
know, they want to take advantage of you, and then when you're not able to do that no more, then they look, you know, on the other side and look for other people
right.
who can really take care of them, you know, take care of their needs. So,
Exactly.
so yeah, you said you just launched your business, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what kind of programs are you gonna, you know, you're offering, and for how long, and how would people connect with you online? If you don't mind, you can share on the chart your contact,
Sure.
and let us know how people can connect with you.
So my business is called Dog Gone Depression. I have a website, www.doggonedepression.com. And what I've created is a series of lessons that are on video, also with PDF content and homework assignments. And the video and the homework assignments also involved group forums and posting on group forums for group support. There's every other week group coaching with me for question and answers, share your wins, share your struggles, to go through some of the lessons together. There will be also group art experiences. I've incorporated art, and that's where the dog comes in. I've created dog portraits to go along with each of the lessons. Each dog represents a different lesson. You can print those out, and those are like coloring pages. It's kind of a therapeutic, fun modality to also explore some creativity with. We have ongoing podcasts that I'll be creating along the way. It's a monthly membership. You can stay for as long as you want. Obviously, the longer you stay, the more support you're going to get with the group coaching and the group art experiences and the forum and the community. But you'll have access from day one to the materials. I encourage people to do it in a stepwise fashion, because each lesson builds upon the one before. So it's not meant to be poured through quickly. It's meant to be mastered each step before you go on to the next one, because each step, like I said, builds on the one before. And by the time you get to the lessons on trauma and resolution of trauma, you have to have done the previous lessons so that you have the tools for that next step. Put it together.
Yeah. So did you say that you have it online, but then do you accompany people as individuals or as a team?
That's an option. I accompany people through the group coaching, but people who want individual coaching, that's also available.
Right. Yeah, I'm asking this
That would be a
question.
separate thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm asking so that our audience will, you know, understand what they need to do and how to connect with you. I really appreciate you putting out your information there. See this dog gone. So this dog, what is the dog in it? Is there any meaning to that? I know that's an animal, but is there any?
The dog, I'll show you the portrait. So my mascot is my dog Snoopy. He's the mascot, and the logo for Dog Gone Depression.
Wow.
What kind of puppy is he?
There are coloring pages that are part of the homework assignment that we do along the way. So for example, the first week, the portrait is Happy Dog. You want to be and where you want to go. So I'll show you Happy Dog.
What kind of puppy is Skippy?
There's Happy Dog.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's something that can be downloaded and colored along with the other piece of the homework.
Okay. Now, did you create this yourself?
I did. I used my years of clinical experience, both as a therapist, life. I've struggled for decades with anxiety and depression, and I wanted to learn and the best of everything I did clinically and combine it into a high yield program to cut out some of the wasted time Like, I don't believe you have to delve in trauma in order to heal. I believe that you can heal, and that's what my program is about.
Yeah, that's great. The other question I want to ask before I actually open it up to our audience, in case people have questions or comments, is when we talk about depression, we talk about what is going on in our lives. I believe as a Christian that we are God's creatures, and that we've been put into this world for a reason. And when people start growing and start interacting with the world and start encountering life, some of us had an essence of God or higher power or whatever it is. So in your program, is there any, connection or relationship or getting people to even acknowledge, the higher power, and then knowing that they cannot really do it alone by themselves? Is there any?
Yeah. It is a faith-based program. Well,
okay. Oh, you're cutting
biblical
there.
principles. There are also some lessons dedicated to spirituality specifically, and I'm in the process of creating what I call Bible bonus lessons to tag onto the lessons I've already created. So the lessons stand on their own in terms of clinically and psychologically, but I do bring in that additional component of the spirituality.
Right. Right. That's I'm glad that you mentioned that, because we're complex human beings. Therefore, whenever we are trying to offer help, I believe that the holistic approach is very critical.
Yes.
That you bring the spiritual aspect of that so people understand. And honestly, when we get depressed, or when people get into all kinds of challenges in life, it affects our spirit first, before really the physical manifestation comes. So knowing that spiritual aspect is as essential, as any other thing, that there's something there, that there's some materials there that can take advantage of, to really make the whole process a holistic, process. So that's really great. And do you have any group of people like lined up for to start, or you're still kind of looking for people?
Both. I'm looking for people.
Emily, did you notice that Christy Cox? Do you notice that?
Oh, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's the networking. Yeah.
I'm taking new people all the time, and I still have people I've been working with that are going to follow along as well.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Even though I have a set number of lessons so far, it's a work in progress. So as I see need, I will create more material.
I think that's the best way to do it, because you cannot know what people need until you start encountering them.
Right.
So yeah, that's how everything has, we know today has started off. So you work with people, you create needs that will meet, create the program that will meet their need. So yeah, I'm gonna open it up. If anyone has more questions, comments for Christy, here is your chance to ask your questions and make comments.
What kind of puppy is Skippy?
Snoopy is a Chihuahua.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
He's really cute in that picture.
Lost him last year, but he's the mascot and the role model.
That's good. I'm sure he's.
How old is he? How old is he?
He passed away. He was 9 years old.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't realize he
poor
passed.
Scoopy.
Okay. He's memorialized forever now.
I know, right?
I'm sure he's really happy about that. And doggy heaven.
Do you have another dog or just?
I do. I have two other Chihuahuas, his parents, Linus and Lucy.
Hey.
They are part of the program, actually. Part of the
Oh.
podcasts I create are called podcasts. I have some lessons where I take the wisdom from dogs and I share it with humans. For example, why are dogs
Absolutely.
always so happy? Because when you come home, they're like so excited to see you and greet you with such joy. And I talk about one of my podcasts, what would life like if we all greeted with each other the way a dog greets you when you come home?
Isn't that yes, that's an important lesson for all of us. Because sometimes, honestly, I believe that we should learn from animals. We should learn a lot from animals. And as a midwife, it has always baffled me to learn that all the animals that I have known and studied about, they all took care of their babies, they breastfed their babies, they took care of them. Nobody took them to the hospital, to any school to train them. They intuitively knew what the baby needed, except the humans. We can't manage our babies. It becomes a huge challenge. It's as if they didn't come from us. You know what I mean? So do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I was just going to pose the question, do you suppose we can't manage our babies because we can't manage ourselves?
Maybe that's part of the problem. Yeah. Yeah, because it's so sad that, like I said, all the animals in this planet know how to take care of their babies from pregnancy to when the child is born, the puppies are born, and when till they grow older. So that you don't hear any complaints from them, you don't have any problems, everything is natural. But then come to see we humans, we have issues getting pregnant, we have issues keeping pregnancy, we have issues having babies, and there's issues after even we have babies, to the point people don't even want to use their own milk. They want to get the milk from another animal, and you really wonder what's really going on. What kind of species are we?
Perhaps we're disconnected.
What? I think you're right. Yes, there's a huge disconnect right there. And what do you think will be the solution? Any ideas? Any suggestions?
It goes back to self-care and self-love and knowing who you are, who God says you are, and
Right.
having value in yourself. How can you give out of an empty cup?
Right. No, you can't.
Right? And a lot of these moms, whether they're married or single, are giving out of an empty cup. There's nothing left. So no wonder they don't want to even nourish the baby out of their own body. There's nothing left to give.
Absolutely. A couple of months ago, I was at a seminar where one of the doctors, who OBGYN doctor, was talking to us about the problems we're having now with women and drugs. What is going on, how they cannot even. I mean, that from your own background, that we have a lot of mental health issues right now among women. It's like it's hitting the roof. I just don't understand what just happened in the past 10 years, that we are now dealing with a whole lot of young women who are busy in drugs, who are busy in alcohol, who cannot really get it together. Um, do is that your experience as well?
Yeah, the drug epidemic is awful. I'm seeing younger and younger people and greater numbers of people abusing drugs than in the past. Part of it also, I think, and I'm not trying to be political, but in normalizing some drug behavior, many of the states have normalized and legalized marijuana. people think that's a harmless herb, but it does impact our cognitive mind, our abilities, our it's almost normal for people to become normalized. And so it's not a huge jump to go from marijuana to, oh, I'm going to try a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Well, you don't know if you're going to be that person who becomes addicted. You know, next thing you know, you're dealing with an addiction problem. I think that's part of it. It's glorified and normalized. The other part of the problem is there's a lot of hopelessness in people's lives, a lot of meaninglessness. People have insecurities around job and job maintenance, around finances, around everything that's going on in the world, the pandemic and what have you. It's frightening people, and they're feeling hopeless. And when you start getting hopeless, you start not caring. And one of the ways to numb out is to do drugs.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Talking about marijuana, I remember a few years ago, in fact, about 8 years ago, when it hasn't really escalated to this. I was doing home visiting with some of my families, and I walked into this family, a young woman. She would be like 16, 20 weeks pregnant, and she has a full box of all kinds of marijuana, all kinds. And I was so shocked. I'm like, what is this doing? And I didn't see that. I didn't verbalize it, but in my head, I'm like, what is she doing with this?
Mhm.
What is she doing with this? And so she asked me, one thing she asked me was, oh, do I trust you with this? I'm like, so what are this? She said, well, that's what I'm using because I really had a bad nausea. I needed to really take care of the nausea. I'm like, you know what? I don't think you need all of this. And I'm like, did your doctor know about it? Of course not. She was self-medicating. And so were other friends of hers.
Right.
So it's the whole thing, like you said, talking about a lot of things have been legalized now without even thinking about the repercussion that will have. We're all about freedom without responsibility. If you ask me, that's the way I would put it. There's no way you can tell a young woman to take this without letting her know what the side effects would be, because there are side effects, no matter how we try to, so yeah.
People are making money off of it, and therefore they're rationalizing the use of it, and they're trying to say that it's a harmless herb, but it is not harmless. We've seen plenty of negative repercussions. New onset seizure disorder, people who have no seizure history. I don't know if you've ever heard of the condition called cyclical vomiting syndrome, but the marijuana itself can become the thing that causes vomiting that's intractable. People just vomit, and they can't stop vomiting. They keep using the marijuana because they say, oh, it's helping me not vomit. No, it's created the whole problem to begin with.
Problem. Yeah.
Think about the stunted development it's causing in the fetus and the brain
exactly.
of the fetus, right? So we have opened a Pandora's box.
Yes. Absolutely.
Personal responsibility is a factor, I think, as a society.
Oh, we lost you.
We want to just abdicate responsibility and not be responsible for our choices.
Yes. I think being responsible is the key, and being responsible at all levels, including our lawmakers, because you cannot tell me that you're going to say this is good without being responsible for that, because whatever we tell people is what they buy into, and whatever that people buy into, be it political or personal, they have some that detrimental, and we cannot not be responsible for some of this impact, negative impact that people are going through, experiencing as a result of the freedom we've given to them, without really responsibility. So yeah, Yeah, it's sad, but true. That's what is going on today in our world. And I don't know what the answers are, but I like what you said about we have to start with self-care. If I know what is good for me, and this goes for every woman and men too. That, but I'm emphasizing in women because this month is special for us, and we want to really, unravel some of these issues that are really keeping us down, not letting us live life to the fullest, not making us really be fruitful. So that's why I'm emphasizing on this that women should really consider taking care of themselves, putting themselves first before anybody else, be it in a relationship, be it in the law, whatever it is. Just know that you're me first. There's nothing wrong with that.
And I'm not saying to do it in a selfish way where
Right.
It's to the contrary. I'm saying that you restore yourself so that you can be available for your job, for your family, for your children, long term.
Right. Yeah, because that's what we're hoping for. Everything got to be long term. But with the way things are going in the society right now, I really worry about the long term. Because a lot of people are no longer thinking in that direction anymore. They just want that instant gratification, and that it doesn't really matter what happens tomorrow. So that's a concern to me, and I believe any reasonable citizen of this country and really of the globe should be concerned. That we're heading the wrong direction with the way things are going, especially with our young people. So yeah. So thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. And I wish you the best in your business and our audience today. We have Christy has shared her information. So please connect with her. If you have more questions, don't hesitate. Send her an email or contact us, Emily or I, who will always direct you to Christy to really help you. She has this great program that is very really built from her own personal experience. And I can assure you, when people build stuff out of their personal experience, it's really usually beneficial, to others who use it. So thank you so much, Chris, for coming. And I hope that you will come again in the future. And if you need us in any means, way, please reach out and we'll be there for you. I appreciate your time, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
And have a good night.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening. Bye.
Recording stopped.
Okay.
Yeah, there. As you said, Christy, you're always welcome back anytime. So
thank you so much.
So whenever you'd like to join us, just let me know. Or Zeta, whichever.
Right. Yeah. So, Chris, you said you do podcasts. How often do you do that?
Wonderful.
Do you say you do a podcast? How often do you do that?
Whoever wants to have me as a guest, I'm
okay. Okay, great. Okay. All right.
And I'm creating my own. And I'm creating my own podcasts as well.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. If you say that you have a podcast, so I was just wondering, how often do you do that, and when do you do it? Actually,
I haven't gotten that part off the ground yet.
Okay. It's still in the pipeline. Okay, that's good. That's great. Yeah. Thank you. I think it was really a powerful message you shared with us this evening. And I'm sure our audience will really be happy to listen, and they reach out to you with more questions and how they can, get a benefit from your program.
Wonderful. I would love to have a copy of today's podcast, and I would repurpose it so that my people can hear from you as well.
Absolutely, yes. Once we are done, I'm gonna go. The replay link should be available shortly, and I will email it to Emily to forward to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Zita. Thank you, Emily, for
You're
inviting me.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It was
All right.
awesome.
All right, thank you, Emily, too. So have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.